Hello, and welcome back to Turnaround Politics. Today, we will be looking at the 2020 Senate elections while filling in a map to see who will win the Senate, either the Democrats or the Republicans, come 2020. So let's start off with talking about the states that are already filled in. The states filled in already are deemed safe states for either of the parties. It does seem like the Republicans have more safe seats, but that just comes down to the fact that they have almost twice as many seats up for a re-election this time around than the Democrats. There's 35 seats, Senate seats up for re-election. 33 are normal Senate elections, while two of them are special elections, one in Georgia and one in Arizona, and 12 of them are Democrats. 23 of them are Republican incumbents. So let's start off with looking at the toss-up states. Let's start off in Arizona, where it's a race between incumbent Martha McSally, who was appointed by the governor after Jeff Flake vacated the seat, versus Democrat Mark Kelly, husband of Gabby Giffords, a very popular congresswoman from Arizona and who was a victim of gun violence and has been a proponent of gun control ever since. Mark Kelly is currently leading by a plus 7.4 on average, and according to Real Clear Politics polling average, it's a substantial lead, and it would be a lot of ground for Martha McSally to cover. Mark Kelly actually is doing very well for Joe Biden. It does a lot of states do tend to vote for the same party and senator as they would for president. So Mark Kelly is only helping Joe Biden in Arizona, and him having such a big lead is a good thing for Mark Kelly and Joe Biden. 7.4 is too big of a lead to think that Martha McSally will come back. A lot of money being spent in Arizona. If I'm not wrong, over $50 million combined between the two candidates so far. And so a lot of money will be spent in Arizona by November 3rd. And it will be interesting to see. Up to Colorado, we have another incumbent Republican versus a Democrat in John Hickenlooper. He's facing Cory Gardner. Cory Gardner won election in Colorado in 2014, but he's not very popular right now, and John Hickenlooper is the governor of Colorado, which makes him a very popular candidate in Colorado. He's currently leading between plus 6 and plus 11. That's a very substantial lead. And since it's an election year, I do think Colorado, they voted for the last three, in the last three elections, they voted for Democrats. I think they're going to do the same here for president, and that also means that they're probably going to vote for John Hickenlooper. Him having such a big lead, it just seems too much like that he would win than Cory Gardner. Let's move up to Montana. Not really what you would think would be a toss-up state. It's a very conservative area, but they do have elected officials there that were Democrats. Up in Montana, they have an incumbent in Steve Daines, who's a Republican, versus Steve Bullock, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the governor of Montana. He's very popular there, and that leading to Steve Daines only having a 2-point lead in Montana. Very small lead, well within the margin of error. However, I'm going to stick by the stance that if I believe that Donald Trump is going to win this state, that it probably will also vote for the Republican senator in the election, because I don't think there will be any split elections come November 3rd, and that leads me to believe that the Republicans will win Montana. However, it is still the case that Steve Daines is in the lead, so that helps me be confident in my decision. Let's move over to Iowa. Iowa is an interesting case because it has Donald Trump with barely a lead there by a +1, but has Teresa Greenfield in the lead by a plus +0.3. Teresa Greenfield is the Democrat running in Iowa versus Joni Ernst, who's an incumbent Republican. However, having the incumbency factor benefit her, also running during the time Donald Trump is running. I don't think the Senate elections are going to be as upfront in people's minds. I feel like they might vote for the same party down the line. So I do think Joni Ernst has an advantage. Teresa Greenfield is leading by in polls, but it's only by 0.3, well within the margin of error. And I think Joni Ernst will make that up in polling over the next couple months. So I do think Joni Ernst will win Iowa. And so Democrats are sitting at 47 Senate seats to the Republicans' 48 currently. Let's move over to Michigan. Michigan is one of the few states where an incumbent Democrat senator is running, and they think that it is a toss-up state. He's the only Democrat incumbent running that is considered a toss-up state. Gary Peters versus John James. John James is a very cool person. He ran in Michigan in the last election, and he made it a lot closer than people thought, which is a very interesting thing to happen. John James versus Gary Peters will be closer than the polling says. Gary Peters is leading by plus 7.7. I do think that will be closer than people think, just like the presidential election in Michigan will be closer than the polling suggests. But I don't think John James is going to make it up. John James is, however, helping Donald Trump in Michigan by being a very popular Republican in Michigan, and he'll make it a closer and make it a toss-up state for both presidential and Senate races. So he's helping him a lot. This state is where a lot of money will be spent, a lot of time from senators to House seats to presidents. So it will be interesting to watch what Michigan's doing over the next couple months. But I do think at the end of the day, they will keep their incumbent in Gary Peters. He's very popular there in polling. He's very popular as a person. It'll be interesting to see, though. Now let's move up to Maine. Maine has an incumbent, Susan Collins, who's a very moderate Republican. However, in the last 2 years, she made herself very unpopular in Maine, not having any meetings with people from Maine, not having any town halls, versus Sarah Gideon, who's the Democrat running up there, who is the Speaker of the House in Maine, and a very popular politician up there. Maine doesn't typically like Republicans. However, Susan Collins has identified herself as more of a moderate Republican, not super conservative, in the middle. Like, will vote either side if she feels what is right, which makes her more popular than a typical Republican up in Maine. However, Gideon is leading in the polls by plus 4.5, a substantial lead, and I do think she's more popular in Maine right now. And with this also being a presidential election, I think that has hurt Susan Collins a lot. She hasn't been able to come out and attack the president, which is what she would need to win Maine. And so I don't think she will win. She's not able to do that because she's a sitting Republican senator, and it would look bad. So I think it being a presidential election year really hurt Susan Collins' chances of winning up in Maine. So I do think Sarah Gideon will be the next senator in Maine. Let's move down to North Carolina. North Carolina has Thon Tillis versus Cal Cunningham. Cal Cunningham is leading substantially in the polls with a plus 3.5, and Donald Trump is currently leading in North Carolina, or not Donald Trump, however, Joe Biden is leading in North Carolina by a very small margin within 1 point. So both of them leading. Cal Cunningham has made himself clear as a more moderate Democrat and not a typical, not a coastal Democrat, and more of like a people's Democrat in North Carolina, making him way more popular. He ran a race where it saw a lot of GOP interference with running ads for his opponent to try to get a more liberal person elected in North Carolina so that they would lose in the general election. However, he did come out victorious. He's very popular in North Carolina. That can really help Joe Biden in this election. However, I do think Thon Tillis will win. I think the polling data will shrink. It will shrink the lead of Cal Cunningham over time. And with Donald Trump and him running together in North Carolina, I think that he will end up winning North Carolina, and that's what I also believe Donald Trump will win North Carolina. So that was lead me to believe that Thon Tillis will. However, polling data shows that it can go either way. So this is truly one of the few really toss-up states in this election. South Carolina, not really a toss-up state. It's considered one. It's where a very prominent senator and Lindsey Graham is from. He's the incumbent running for re-election there versus Jamie Harrison. All props to Jamie Harrison for getting this to be considered. a toss-up state, it's because he's a very popular person down there. He's pandering to a community that hasn't had votes in South Carolina. He's trying to get votes in a way that most South Carolina elected officials don't, like Lindsey Graham. However, Graham has a substantial lead in a +8. It really would come out to voter turnout if Jamie Harrison's able to get a lot of voters to turn out, a lot of new voters and stuff like that, younger people. He could win, but I don't see that happening, and I think Lindsey Graham is in a very safe seat, and it's not a good look for Republicans. Also, say that South Carolina is definitely voting for Donald Trump, and that's only going to help Lindsey Graham. Lastly, Georgia. Georgia has an incumbent David Perdue versus Jon Ossoff. Jon Ossoff is a decent politician down in Georgia. However, David Perdue is a known factor. Georgia is a toss-up state for the presidential election, but Georgia is going to be a place where a lot of money is spent for the GOP. There's 2 Senate races there that they both could win, and that's a lot. That's 2 senators from one state. You can pretty much get double more bang for your buck in Georgia running ads for both of them at the same time versus their candidates. And Perdue is currently leading in the polls by +4. I could see that lead grow into like more closer to a +6, +7 come election day. I do think Georgia will vote for David Perdue. So at the end of the day, I believe that Democrats will have 49 senators, while the Republicans 51, but it easily could go another way. Polling data suggests that Cal Cunningham could win North Carolina, and Teresa Greenfield could win Iowa, leading to a complete switch in the Democrats having 51 and the Republicans having 49, or even if it's split 50-50, Iowa going to Joni Ernst and North Carolina going to Cal Cunningham. Polling suggests that too. That could be a very interesting case. It goes to show you how important this election would be between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Whoever to win that in this scenario would have the tie-breaking vote. Mike Pence would have the tie-breaking vote if Donald Trump won, or Kamala Harris would have the tie-breaking vote if she won. As a senator, it would be interesting to see. She would go right back into being kind of like a senator when most votes are split down party lines. Be very interesting. She would just go right back into being in her role of being a senator. But thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.